Hello ladies, gents, and everyones. It is Thursday, February 18th, and we're here to talk about this week's space and astronomy news. Yes folks, after all the talk, NASA's Perseverance rover is finally attempting its landing on Mars later today. If you're watching this from the future, no spoilers. The landing site is the Jezero crater, which is an ancient river delta that scientists are hoping might contain signs of any past life that existed on Mars. NASA will be live streaming the landing this afternoon. Their coverage starts at 2:15 p.m. Eastern, and the landing is targeted for 3:55 p.m. Eastern, so go ahead and check it out. Good luck to Perseverance. I mentioned before that Congress finally freed the Europa Clipper mission from its requirement to launch on the SLS, which was really a drag on the mission due to issues with the SLS, not only on the development and timeline, but also compatibility issues with the Clipper itself. However, while NASA had started looking into commercial partners, it wasn't clear whether or not they would continue considering the SLS as well. Well, now it is clear. A recent memo from NASA's Planetary Missions Program Office directed the team to immediately cease efforts on maintaining SLS compatibility and to only move forward with commercial launchers. A formal request for proposal is expected to be put out in March to solicit commercial options for launching the Europa Clipper in 2024. The Russian Progress 77, an unpiloted spacecraft, arrived at the International Space Station yesterday. It docked with a 20-year-old Pirs compartment on the Russian segment of the station. The spacecraft brought nitrogen, oxygen, and propellant to the station, and it will be there until later this year when it departs. However, when it departs, it's not going to be detaching from the Pirs compartment. Instead, the Pirs compartment will be detaching from the station, and both the Russian Progress 77 and the Pirs compartment are going to go into a destructive orbit together and burn up. This will make way for a new docking compartment called Naka, which is going to dock onto the space station later this year. Have you always dreamed about going to space? I know I have. Well, there's some potential good news for you. The ESA is opening astronaut applications on March 31st this year. This is only the fourth time ever that ESA has issued a call for applications to be an astronaut. Unfortunately for me, one of the requirements is that you have to be from an ESA member state or associated member state, which I'm not. But if that's you, go check out the requirements and consider applying. They're also looking for what they're calling para-astronauts, which are basically astronauts that are otherwise qualified except for a physical disability that would prevent them from operating the current astronaut equipment. This is for a project called the Paranaut Feasibility Project, which is basically trying to see if this is feasible. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool in making space more accessible for everyone and finding astronauts that are totally qualified to do awesome, amazing things in space. So if you thought we knew a lot about galaxies, well, think again. No, actually, we still do. But there was a new paper in Science this past week that announced a detection of a galaxy that was somewhat puzzling to astrophysicists. This is because this galaxy dates back to only 1.2 billion years after the Big Bang, so about 12.5 billion years ago, and it displays features that astrophysicists had previously thought were considered evolved features in a galaxy. That is, features like a bulge in a disk that takes time to form out of the rather chaotic formation processes of a galaxy. So the fact that these features exist in a galaxy so early in the universe is actually a hint that these processes happen faster than scientists thought. So this is a really interesting observation and is going to hopefully lead to some more discoveries and understanding of galactic formation. Have you heard of Planet 9? It's a planet that's been hypothesized to explain this kind of apparent clustering of orbits in a certain class of objects called ETNOs, or extreme trans-Newtonian objects. So these are objects that are trans-Neptunian, that means they are out past Neptune, and they're extreme, so that astronomers aren't very creative with names sometimes, it just means they're like really far past Neptune. Basically, some previous studies had shown that the orbits of these objects were more aligned than they would expect by chance, and that it could be explained by a somewhat massive planet in the outer solar system. However, a recent study is now casting some doubt on that. So they did a kind of meta study looking at several different surveys of ETNOs and did a statistical analysis and found that actually the clustering is totally consistent with solely being observational bias, and that a even distribution of orbits would give rise to pretty much the same observations. So this isn't ruling out Planet 9, it's just saying that the evidence of orbital clustering can be explained without Planet 9, and so it does cast some doubt onto whether or not Planet 9 may or may not exist. Part of the reason this is so difficult to pin down is that there's just not very many of these ETNO objects. This most recent study looked at 14 of these objects, and they found that one or two of them were really heavily influencing the outcomes that previous authors were getting in their studies. So really, we just need to detect more of these, but it's really hard to do because they're very dim and they're very far away. But hopefully, as we continue to detect more, we will start to piece together what is actually going on in the outer reaches of our own solar system. Be good to know. And speaking of trans-Neptunian objects, astronomers recently announced the discovery of the most distant object observed in the solar system. It's located at 132 AU, which is 132 times the distance from the sun to the Earth. Because it's so far away, it's incredibly dim, so finding these objects has been really difficult. So this is the furthest one that they've detected to date, and the object is 2018 AG37. However, astronomers have given it the nickname Far, Far Out to indicate its status as the farthest out object. See my previous note about astronomers and their creative naming. In fact, the previous object that held this record, which was discovered by the same team of astronomers, was nicknamed Far Out, so they just decided to tack on another far to emphasize that this one was even farther out. So a pretty exciting week in space and astronomy news. Keep your fingers crossed for Perseverance this afternoon. Thanks so much for watching. I hope I'll see you again next week. Have a good one. Bye.